Hey budgeteers, it is time to budget our first week of January 2017. I'm glad you joined me here. No matter what budget you're using, I just want you to budget along with me. I have my budget template out there. You can download that. I'll put a card right here. You can click on that to download the template or come up with your own. Do whatever you want. I just want you here budgeting with me as we are going to track and trend our spending and income for 2017. The first thing that I want to do is I want to open up the budget template that I'm going to use. So for me, that's my manual template here. I'm not using the automated one because I am going to do this on a very weekly basis. The second thing I'm going to want to do is go over to my bank and download all of the transactions that I've already had come through for the first week of January. So I'll have that on the side. But we want to plan ahead before we start entering in our current expenses. So I'm going to think some of those through, but first I'm going to show you what I've downloaded from my bank. And we're going to take you to the Name Accounts tab, which is the Start Here tab, and we're going to start right there. Right here, you can see that I've got the Name Accounts tab opened, which is the Start Here tab on the budget template. So I've got my template open, and then also over here, I've got my checking account information downloaded, so I can see what date everything occurred on, how much it was for, and what it was, so that I can go back and I can start to enter that into my budget. However, the first thing that we need to do is we need to think back on the last year and think forward during this year and determine what kinds of expenses or income we can expect for this year. So I know for a fact that I am going to make income. And for our family, we usually don't split it between me and my wife. We just call it income. So usually I'll write it as income or something like that. But for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to just write Quincy income, so that we can keep track of that as we follow it through. Just know that it's a little bit combined with everything going on in our household. So with that, I've got my income subject to personal withholding. I should start there. Basically what this is looking at is saying, I have income, and when I get it, I want to take something out of it every single time. And for that, I actually have a charity that I donate to, and I pull 10% out of my income every single time I get paid, and we move that over to this charity. So I want all incomes to be subject to that personal withholding. Others that I typically get in a month or a year that I would need to track is interest from a bank. Things that I would get that are not subject to a personal withholding are usually reimbursements. So every so often, I will buy something for someone else and they will pay me back. And I don't want to pay on the charity or put anything into savings off of that income, so I will put it into a reimbursement account. As of right now, I don't have any debts that I need to list within the debt area. However, as of last year, I would have put in there my Discover card, my Chase card, my American Express card. We had 2 car loans, 2 student loans. There was a lot in there, so don't feel bad if you've got it. This is year one. Go for it. Get them in there, and we will begin to track those as well, so you'll see those flow through. Household-related expenses. Some of the things that I expect to see in there this year, I always put my mortgage right on top. I have Netflix, Hulu, and then I do have Amazon Prime, but I don't put that in household-related expenses, and you'll see why when we get to the bucket account section. Other things that I put in my household-related expenses are gas and electricity. And I'll also, gosh, I got to think this through. It's been a while. So over here on the budget item list, I can click here and it will tell me a few of those things. So mortgage, rent, sewer. Sewer is one that I know that is already coming through, and we will actually be budgeting for that during this week. Internet. So I do have internet. I do not do any television service outside of Netflix, Hulu. Don't have a home phone, but I do have a cell phone. So I will put that here. We'll call it mobile phone. Stay with the times, right? Smartphone. All right, so I've got that all in there, and I'll skip out. And again, you can always come back to this. So if you forget something, don't worry about it. You can always come back and list that later. bucket accounts are extremely important. So if you haven't already watched it, I've got a video out there that will explain to you what bucket accounts are. But as a quick overview, a bucket account is essentially a place where you're putting money for a future use. There is a very popular system out there that people talk about. They call it the envelope system or cash envelopes. There's lots of names for it, but these are basically digital cash envelopes. You're keeping your money within these buckets, and you could have physical cash envelopes on the side if you wanted that actually have the money in them, but this is keeping everything separated within my checking account. So for that, I have, let's say I want to go travel at some point. So usually I'll call this vacation. I like to have one for holiday, so I usually include birthdays and everything inside of holiday, and I'll show you how I track that. Let's come over here and see some of the other ones. So home repair, yard maintenance, car repair, and insurance. Those are all great. So let's jump back over here. Home repair, put car repair right under, and I'm going to split car insurance and car repair. Let's see, we've got everything there. Perfect. Going down again. So electricity and gas could actually be a bucket account if you wanted to. Water could be a bucket account, but actually I'm going to go back up to household related and add my water as a household related expense instead of a bucket account. Amazon Prime, like I talked about, trash service, a cell phone. Now this is a different kind of cell phone. So let's do Amazon Prime, trash, and then this is going to be new cell phones. So basically, if we want to buy brand new cell phones in the future, that's where these are going to come from. Then I've got gym, health, education, other. So I definitely want to get health in there, education. And again, I can come back to some of these. Now, one of these bucket accounts, I'm going to name it the last one because I'm going to talk about this in another video at another time. It's a secret. Oh yeah, super secret. I'm really excited. But actually, I'm just interrupting because I want you to keep hanging in there. We're still going. We're putting the budget template together, and I'm glad you're hanging on with me because as soon as this is set up, we are on our way. So don't forget, we're just getting this set up this one time, and once we're ready to go, this process won't happen again. We'll continue moving forward from here on out, and each week we'll get faster and faster and faster. So bear with us. We are having an awesome time. Glad to have you here, Budgeteer. Now, I can't forget here that I do need another one for car gas, and I used to put it inside of my weekly budget, which we'll get to next, but we're changing it up this year. We've decided that there may be a reason for bucketing money for gas for our car so that we can save some up or figure it out in another way. So that will also go there. And let's take a look at this list over here and see if there's anything else we can think of. Clothes is a good one. We'll put that on there. And we'll go with that. And again, I'll come back to those if needs be. I'm sure I'll think of other things. I usually do. So keep your mind open and realize that there's always more things that can be put onto a budget. Now, weekly budget list 1 and 2, I don't ever use weekly list 2. It's just there in case somebody did need it. But weekly budget list 1, I don't change the names. I like just calling them week 1 through 6, and you'll never really have a week 6 in a month. But I put it there just in case. There's always those oddities that do happen or some reason why you might need that. So it's there. And the last thing is withholding. So like I said, I have a percentage withholding to a charity, which goes to my church. I call it tithing. And then also we'll do one for savings, just in case we want to figure something out that we can put in there. Now, as a household related expense, I forgot to put up in here that we also pay like an insurance premium every single month for health insurance and other things. Ours is pretty low because I do it through a corporate employer. Yours may be different if you are self-insured or have figured out another way to do that. So ours isn't too bad, but I do put it in there. And I'm going to put health insurance, etc., because it's not just health insurance, it's also dental. I take out a small amount there. There's a few things that go into that. And then for bucket accounts, I do want to bucket some money for, we'll not call it health since I already have health. This is a different kind of health. This is medical bills. So anything medical that I want to do. And I contribute that into an HSA, which We can talk about HSAs later if that's something you have questions about, but just know that when I move into medical, it's not staying in a savings account or somewhere else. I'm actually putting that into a sponsored plan known as an HSA. So I feel like I've named pretty much everything that could be named in here. And my initial buckets, my starting checking account balance. So this is really the only thing you need to mark in here, unless you have a pretty sizable checking account balance. And you'll notice that all of the bucket accounts moved over into this area. Now, this year, I've decided that we are starting with $0. I'm not moving anything over from last year. I'm pushing all of that into savings, and I'm starting absolutely fresh for this year. And we are going to try to maintain our budget without adding money from last year back into it. So I'm going with 0, but whatever you have in your checking account, or you don't even need a bank. I keep saying checking account, but let's just say that you keep all of your money in cash somehow. That's great. Go ahead and enter your starting amount or whatever you have in there. And if you do have an envelope system or some way that you're already allocating money out to different things, you can go ahead and enter those right here, and it will move the remainder to your budget. So it'll basically say that money's already taken if it's in one of those bucket accounts. If you don't understand that, feel free to ask. I'd be glad to help anyone out who has questions there. Then I'm going to jump to January of 2017, which is where we're at. And I can open up all of these little drop downs. I can see my income, interest, reimbursement accounts. Like I said, I don't have any debts over there. Personal withholdings, tithing, savings came through, and I've got everything here. So what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to pull up the date so I can see here that it's pretty late at night. I shouldn't be budgeting this late, but I am. And I will be because I really enjoy this. But I can see here that there are 4 Fridays in the month. So I've got 1, 2, 3, and 4, which means that I'm going to drop down step 4B of the weekly budget tool. And days in week 1. Oh, sorry, I've got to scroll that there. It is transfer days. I don't know why it just says days. That's all right. It is 4. So with having 4 there, I've got my week budget item 1, 2, 3, and 4. So for my family, we do food, we do entertainment, we do diapers, and we do other, which are toiletries / anything you need, paper towels, you name it, personal hygiene, whatever it is, it all goes in there. So for food per week, you can either do a daily amount or a weekly amount, one or the other, not both. It clearly states that here. So as a daily amount for food, you could say whatever it is, but we do a weekly amount. And typically we enter that in as $75. We always go over that, so don't feel bad if you're over $75 on your food budget. We are trying to feed a family of 5, and we do a pretty good job on that. We usually spend closer to 110, 115, but we only budget the 75. And inside of our weekly budget, it's just a total. So if we decide we want to do more entertainment, then we'll push it down to $75. If we decide to do less entertainment, we can push that back up and buy more food. So this is a give and take account. This is one that we keep very open and fluid so that we can make choices on the fly as well. Some people will tell you that you need to budget every dollar before you start, but this is one area where I feel like if you don't want to have as much entertainment that week, why would you waste your money on that if you would rather go out and buy some nicer food for a nice Sunday dinner or something else? So all of these are pretty open and movable. For entertainment, we usually do $50 there. Diapers, we do about $25 a month. And I can already tell that for our goal this time around, we're trying to do $150 per week that I'm over. So I'm going to actually take down entertainment to $30, and I'm going to move $20 to other, and we'll allow those to build. So now if you open up step 4A, you'll see that I've got $150 budgeted for weeks 1 through 4. And I can go ahead and close that down, and it is budgeted and ready to take a look at that. So that's good there. The next thing that I'm going to do is open back up my income, and I'm going to put how much we expect to get in income. For this year, my wife and I sat down and we decided that we are going to try to live on $4,000 per month, which we put in right here to state that we are expecting $4,000 per month. Now, we may earn some interest or get reimbursements in another month that will help us during that month, but $4,000 is the goal. That's where we're trying to stick within. And I have a really personal reason for that, which I will talk about for sure, and I'll give a brief summary of it here. But if you want to know full details, I will be releasing a video on that later. Basically, the reason for this, there's two main ones, so I'll list both of those. But number one, we want to spend less than what we actually make. So in this course, I want to make sure that we are spending less. And I guess there's kind of three reasons, so I'll kind of combine this one. The other reason inside of reason number one is that I don't want to disclose how much I'm making at my corporate job, just in case there is any sort of weirdness from them or that they come back on that. So we're trying to be a little bit careful there. But also, like I said, the more important part is that we're trying to drive our income down. And the reason for that is actually reason number two. I like knowing that we're living within the U.S. household median range. So in 2015, it was reported that the U.S. household median income was about $55,000 a year. So if you do the math on $4,000 per month, we're living at about $48,000 per year, and that's after taxes. So obviously, all my taxes are coming out, and then the income that I'm expecting is $4,000. So if you take that $48,000 and add all the taxes and everything that they're already taking out on top of that, I'm living at about $55,000 per year as a standard employee of a company. And that way, if something was to happen where I needed to go get another job, or my wife needed to work instead, or do something else entirely, and we were just changing up our whole situation, that it would be a lot easier to stay within our means because we haven't overexpanded our budget to the point where we can no longer maintain the way we live. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. Again, I will come back and we'll talk about that a lot more later, and I want to give you full information on that. So if you do have questions, let me know, but that's the short answer. Personal withholdings, tithing, I will put in 10%, and they say to pay yourself first. So with that, I'm going to put savings as 10% as well, and we may need to come back and adjust that number, and we'll see how it all plays out, but that's what we have. So then I'm going to open up the household-related expenses. My mortgage comes out to about $1,205, and I will adjust that as the actuals come back in because I can get an exact number on that. It's always the same, so I may go and adjust that after this video, but just know that that's about where it's at. I know Netflix comes in around 11, I'll put 12, and again, I'll adjust these. This is just for quick purposes of showing you how it goes. Hulu is 8. Our gas bill and electricity, I always do 60-60. Sewer bill is always exactly 28. I know that one off the top of my head. Internet should never break $35, and if it does, that means I have a problem, and actually I'm expecting a problem this month, so I may be on the phone and trying to renegotiate there. Cell phone, we're about $95 for our family, and water, I usually put that in around $30. And then health insurance, etc., we will put that in at $250 at this time. So then, at this point, what's happening is I've got a monthly summary down here, and it's showing me my budget. So it says that I have a total income of $4,000. I'm withholding $800. 10% of that goes to tithing, 10% of that goes to savings, and then it's telling me what I had last month. So did I save last month, or did I have absolutely zero last month? And because we're starting fresh with zero, this is zero. Now, if you were over in the initial buckets and you put some in here, that would flow through over to here, and it will make this number bigger. So don't count on that. If you already have money in there, don't count on that as your basis. Count on that as extra. Then I have my total monthly expenses at $2,383 so far. So basically, that's what I need to primarily survive. I guess there's a couple in the bucket accounts over here that I would need to do, but really, I could live on $2,383 and be just fine if I decided to. So that really gives you a good peace of mind. However, everybody wants more, right? I know we sure do. So we don't try to skimp out on that. What I'm seeing here is that I've got $817 left in my monthly budget that I would like to allocate out. So we'll start by putting some numbers into the bucket accounts. I would like to put $100 into the bucket account for vacation. Holiday, last year we kept it at $175. Home repair at $100. Car repair at $100. My car insurance, now this is kind of an interesting one. So you can basically take your premium, and I believe mine's around $375. This is just a guess. Again, I'll go in and change these, and I will divide that by 6 because I pay it 2 times per year. That comes out to $62.50, so I'll put it in as $65 as the accrual. And in case you don't know, accrual, maybe a word that some know, some don't. Accrual is you're building up for that. So this whole budget template is basically saying we're going to take $65 and we're going to make it disappear every single month until your insurance is due. Then when you go to pay your insurance, you've got all your money sitting right there, which is awesome. Amazon Prime. So that's, I think it's $99 a year or something. So with that, we'll put it in at about Hulu's rate of $8. My trash bill comes out to $175. That includes trash and recycling per year. So we need about $15 per month to be banked there. New cell phones. Now this is a fun one because you get to choose how much do you want to put in here. I like having a new phone. I love having a new phone, in fact. But this last go around, we actually bought some, I guess you could call them burner phones off of Amazon. And they were really cheap, and they've been working just fine for us. So I'm going to do it at a very small rate, and some of you may go a lot bigger than that. But we're going to take $150, and actually I'm going to times that by 2 because I want one for my wife as well. And because they're cheaper phones, I'm going to expect they break once a year, and we'll put $25 a month away so that at the end of the year, I will be able to buy us some new phones. Same kind, not too great, but it'll be new phones, and we won't have a cell phone payment, and we'll only have the phone bill, if that makes any sense. For health, so with that, I take out of my HSA, I put in, I believe it is $100 per month into that. And then education, this comes out for like preschool. My education, I'm currently doing an MBA, and my son going to school, eating school lunch, we'll do $125. Car gas, $75. Clothing, $75. Oh, sorry. Health is not $100. Health, we're going to do that really low. We're going to do it at about $20. The reason for that, this health was for health and fitness type activities. So if we needed to, my wife goes to Zumba, or if we're going to buy a new DVD, something like that, that's there. Medical here is $100. So now I'm going to come down and I'm going to look again. I am $166 over on my month to month. So that is where now I have to decide, what am I going to take from? What don't I need? What's not super important in this scenario? Now, if you look at it, I'm living pretty much stretched out. I mean, this is probably a little bit frugal, or not frugal, the opposite. We're going kind of a little bit crazy on that. And I mean, it really is kind of the only real one that can budge. We also have our vacation fund that can budge. And I also have this secret here that I actually need to budget for 3 months at $100. So that would put us in March. Are you hanging in there? I hope you are, because this is the first week we're budgeting. We have to set up the template first. Not as fun as other weeks. As soon as we have it set up, the weeks following will be a lot easier, a lot faster. This is probably the longest process of the whole entire year. So bear with me. Let's get this thing set up. Let's get rolling. And then it is smooth sailing from here on out. Well, looking at this, I know that I was basically trying to get a bonus by putting extra savings into our savings account. And there are probably some buckets or household expenses that are going to come up as we continue to budget throughout the months that I'm going to have to add back in. And I really feel like these are going to be pretty accurate of where I'm at. Now, if I was living truly on a $4,000 budget and I really just needed to I really needed to have savings, which is super important, I would probably take this holiday down. That's really, I mean, we are going all out on that. And I know that in my heart. I know that if something was to happen, that's definitely not going to remain. But in this case where I do have a little bit of room, I'm going to lower this down to 7%. And that's not going to do hardly anything. So let's go to 0. And that pulls us up to 134. So now we'll try a 5% savings. We'll try a 4% savings, and we'll try a 3% savings. All right. So now we have $14 extra there, which 3% savings is not a lot. For some of you, that may be exactly what you can do, and you've come down to that point that you can get rid of that. And a lot of people are going to be asking, well, why don't I get rid of the charity number? And, I'll talk about that a lot more later. There are absolute reasons. There's actually religious reasons, but there's also personal reasons and also some of my own philosophical reasons of why I don't get rid of that. And I'll talk about those as we go. But my savings, that's what I'm going to choose to lower here. Now, everything on a budget is a choice. I absolutely do not. In fact, you know what? Let's switch to the camera for this one because I want you to see me say it. I do not, absolutely do not want you to feel like you are failing on a budget because you have chosen not to do something. There are people out there that will tell you that you must save your money and don't buy things like entertainment or don't have so much in clothes. I mean, $75, it seems really low. And my wife is always very skeptical about the numbers I throw out there. In fact, we get really nervous and we have to talk these things out together. Do not feel bad about choosing to take something else off of your budget to increase something else or vice versa, because this is your life. You need to live it and you need to enjoy what you're doing. And if you can't enjoy it because you're trying to save extra money on the side or do whatever it is you're going to do and you're not having a good time, you're not doing this right. Budgeting is supposed to set you free. It will give you a course of action. And this is just to get you going in the right direction. Basically, for me, it's a lucky situation. I don't have any debt anymore. We took care of that last year. And in fact, all of these bucket accounts that you saw right there that we were just looking at were zero pretty much. We had very little going into those accounts. We weren't saving up to go on vacations or do anything. We were paying off debt all the way. And so there are times to live like that, and there are times not to live like that. But this exercise and getting yourself in a budget is to get it so that you are on the right track and that you're managing your money correctly. After you have that budget set up, then you can go back and say, you know what, we didn't spend as much as we thought we would on vacations. Let's move that over into savings. Or you can say, you know what, we spent every bit of that and we had a blast. So now I need to go out and find a new job so that I can support this new lifestyle that I love to live. Or I need to work extra or do something else. There are so many choices. Do not, absolutely do not feel bad for making choices to better your lifestyle on a budget. The key important thing here is that you don't create more debt, but that you are eliminating it during this process. That's my 2 cents. Again, this is all opinion-based, but I want you to know that that's how you should feel because we're all trying. This is our best life and we're living it. So go out there and do the budget your way. We've adjusted that out. We now have budgeted that if we follow this budget exactly, we're going to live on $3,466 a month with $520 withheld, giving us a month-end total of $14. So what I can do with that is I can go back over to my bucket accounts here, and I could add $14 back in, or I can do whatever I need to with it. If you are one that wants to budget every single dollar, go ahead and get those budgeted in. That's great. And again, I've got room here for this little tiny secret, and that's still going, and I'm going to talk to you about that. It's only lasting for 3 months, so as soon as that 3 months is over, I will be able to drop that expense, and we can move that $100 back, maybe into savings or somewhere else. So this is always a good way to go. Now you'll see that my actuals are coming in at 0, 0, 0, and 1,083. That gives me a negative for the actuals of the month. Why is that? I'll tell you this. What's going on is that when you fill in your bucket accounts are automatically deducted from your current income. So because I have no income right now, I'm now running at negative $1,083. That's why I actually waited until the first week of January here to go ahead and build my budget, because I didn't want to feel like these buckets were already available before I got paid. And typically I get paid on the 5th and the 20th. Sometimes they come in different intervals. So I do not build my next month or fill in those buckets until I know that I have that money there. So now I'm going to go in and we're going to take the checking account transactions that I showed you earlier, and we're going to put those into this budget template, and then we're going to see our monthly summary, and we can see where we actually are right now compared to our budget and the difference between the two. So I'm going to jump over here to this file that I have from my bank, and it's really simplistic, and I've edited these a little bit so that there's not reference numbers or phone numbers or account numbers to my information, but you can still see here the dates, you can see the dollar values, and you can see there's this weird asterisk field, which I don't know exactly why it exists. I know it helps with the file, a blank, and then also a description. So if it's a negative number over here, it means it was an expense to me. If it's a positive number, it was income. So you'll see my income here, you'll see an expense here. So let's go ahead and add those in, and the first thing that I'm going to want to do is go over to my budget template and click on the expense tracker, since that's where we add expenses. In this template, you'll click on the fourth row of this sheet, and you'll add a row each time you want to add something in. So we can make this a lot faster by saying January 2017. We'll leave the day blank for now. We'll leave the amount blank, and I just want to create a few rows. So I know over here I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 transactions that will need to be budgeted for. So I will create 7 rows. And that right there is 7. Perfect. So I will take this and, it's not gonna do that right. So we will copy it and paste it. Perfect. 7 rows. So now I can go back and take my dates. So I have 2 6s, 2 5s, a 4, a 3, and a 2. Let's jump over. We've got a 6, a 6, a 5, a 5, a 4, a 3, and a 2, I believe. And then we'll come over to our amounts. And in fact, I'm just going to take these right from here, and we will paste those into here. And statement comment is usually, like I said, you can take the statement comment that actually came with the statement. Because I made these aren't the actual statement comments. This is to get really involved. So if you want to have that statement comment there, you can put that in so that you'll remember the transaction IDs or information that you might want to know. Otherwise, my manual comments are usually where I enter things in, and I don't want to paste with formatting. I want just the normal. And for categories, this is where it's the most important. So you've got the year and the month and the amount and the category. Those are the 4 things that are super important to completing this. So I can come over here and I can use this absolutely insanely huge drop down that has everything in it. Or I can try to remember what I name things as. Education. And this is week 1, because it's my weekly budget transfer of $150 for week 1 of January. And I'll have 4 of those this month. So then I've got this transfer to savings. This was actually tithing. And then I have Hulu. Quincy's income. Sewer. And I believe I called this car gas, to be specific. So I've got those all categorized now. And because they're in January of 2017, when I click back on this tab, you'll see that they start to fill in. So Hulu came in at 1 cent cheaper than what I had budgeted. And I know it always comes in at $7.99, so I'll adjust that. $28 for sewer, so you'll start to see I'm getting right to the point. I'm $2,000 off on my income because only the first payment has come in so far for the month. Buckets will never change. They are exactly what you put into them. And if you open up the weekly budget, you'll notice that week 1 now has an actual, so we are filling this in. I can take a look here and see my actual income, the income withheld, and the total monthly expenses so far. Now, again, it's taking out all of these buckets, then it's taking out sewer, Hulu, and my withholding, you'll see, is right here as well. So this is the total of where I'm at today, which would mean that if I check my checking account right now, that I should have this $531.01 plus all the money that I just put into this bucket accounts. But I don't see the bucket accounts here because they're not real money to me yet until I go and spend out of the buckets. So I'm going to dive in right now. This is the budget. We are now completely budgeted for January, the first week here. So I'm now on January 7th. This is the day. We are budgeted till now. And anything that comes in after this, we'll continue to add to this file. And this is budgeted. So if you're budgeted with me, this is great. But I want to show you the bucket accounts. And if you're not using this file, this probably doesn't matter to you, but I want to show you how this works. Bucket accounts are holding your money in order for you to spend it later. So you'll notice here that all of the buckets that you assigned in January of 2017 are now filling over into the bucket accounts tab. You have vacation here, with $100 in it, holiday with $175, and as you continue to make additional months, so if I made a February of 2017 tab and I put another $100 into vacation without taking any money out of it, this total budget would say $200. Then you'll notice as you run all the way across, your balance here is $100. Now, one of these, we've already used 2 of the bucket accounts you can see here in January. I have 2 transactions that occurred right here in education and car gas. So I've got education at $125 being my total budget. Minus, in January, we had a $25 expense come through. My total balance over here is $100. So this is great. It's going to keep this money separated for you, just like the envelope system, as I talked about before. So this is great. It's something that I've really learned to love. And people will tell you all the time that swiping a debit card is so much easier than using cash, because when you use cash, you know that that's all you have inside of that envelope. But then I have to ask you, isn't that just a psychological game? Basically, you have 2 envelopes. I have one for education and one for car gas. If I needed more car gas, wouldn't my first instinct just be open up the education envelope and spend it? So that's why this works. It's all something that you just have to adjust your head to say, these numbers, this balance over here is how much I have for that one thing. If you are out shopping for clothes, you have whatever is in your clothes budget. I find that here. I have $75. If I'm going to spend $78, just like how I would have to take money out of another envelope and spend it, I have to take it out of another bucket from somewhere else. So it is the same principle. If I overspend in the bucket accounts, I will run into a negative balance in my checking account, which means that I have no money. That's exactly what we're doing here. It's the same as cash. It's just so much easier to maintain that. I don't have to go to the bank and get 20s and 5s and 10s out and compile them correctly so that I can use them in different situations. This makes it so much easier for me. But at the same time, I know exactly how much is in there, so I hesitate. I'll slow down and think about my purchase because I've already allocated money towards that. That means that if I jump back over to the January 2017 tab, if I go to my checking account right now, I should find that I have $1,542.32 in the account. And of that, I have $531.01 that is currently available. And then I have the rest of that is all in bucket accounts. So they've already been moved. And it's not really available, and we know that because this $14.01 tells us that we've already allocated that somewhere else. So of this $531.01, I have $14.01 available to me that if I wanted to go do something else, such as buy a Mountain Dew, don't tell, then I can do that. But that's exactly what we've got going on here. This is week 1. You are now budgeted. That's it. You have it all the way done now. You've got week 1 into a budget template. Whether that's your own, whether you've created your own, whether you're using this one with me, or if you're just watching to see how it's done, you're here. You made it. You made it to the end. I'm really proud of you. This was a really long one, and they won't go this long in the future because we won't be setting up the template every single time. We now have our accounts named. We may add a few here and there, but for the most part, it is streamlined, ready to go. So with that, since you've made it to the end, if you'll leave a comment below, #budgetwithquincy, that way I'll know you made it here, and you made it all the way with us. All together, there are others just like you that are doing this today. I'm so proud. This is so cool, and 2017 is going to be so much better. I hope for you, because it is going to be for me, as long as we can all stick to this all together. I know that problems are coming, like I've mentioned in the New Year's resolution video. I am absolutely nervous. I've got medical expenses for my kids. I've got car repairs that I know are imminent, and I am just trying to put my budget together and be ready for those things to come. But we're here and we're doing this together, and the fact that I have so much support already, I'm really excited, and I am just glad to be budgeting for 2017. If you have any questions, and I mean any questions about this budget template or how to do something differently, I am glad to share my opinion. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't give financial advice on what to invest in or other things, but I can share my opinion freely with you and help you in any way that I possibly can. So feel free to reach out and let me know if I've skipped over something too fast. Don't feel bad asking. I'm always glad to go back and talk more about these subjects. So let me know what it is you want to know more about, and I'm happy to help you out. Again, you made it here, Budgeteer, and if you aren't subscribed already to the channel, go ahead and click the red subscribe button below. And if you want to know when new videos are coming out, these types of videos, the ones where we budget together, are coming out on Saturdays, but there are other videos that are coming out all week long as I'm talking about other financial topics and introducing the template in other ways. If you want that, let me know by clicking the little bell next to the subscribe button. That will tell you every time I upload a video. So with that, I'm going to sign out here. I'm going to get to bed. It is getting late for me, but I'm glad to be budgeted, and I'm glad to be here with you. Have a great 2017, and I will see you next week as we budget again in week 2 of January 2017. For watching. I'm extremely glad to have you here. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to leave them down below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up. For more awesome videos, make sure you are subscribed.